Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the main stage at the Business Transformation and Operational Excellence World Summit, where we accelerate culture, business, and digital transformations, and where we create environments where great people and great ideas can connect. I'm José Pires, the CEO of Global Excellence and Innovation and proud host of the summit. Now, I'm really looking forward to our next session here because we're going to be talking about paving the way for continuous improvement with speed and effectiveness. We're going to talk about speed. We're going to talk about continuous improvement. We're going to talk about innovation. So let me get you right into the action with Paul Simons, our keynote speaker for this session. Hello, Paul. Great to have you here. Quick introduction on Paul. Paul Simons serves as the VP of Strategy and Mergers and Acquisitions and has been for the Heritage Group, and has been leading the journey for operational excellence at the company for many, many years. A 90-year-old round family-owned portfolio of 30-plus businesses is what the Heritage Group is all about. It has a legacy of innovative R&D and building high-trust relationships, like the one that led to paving and preserving the iconic Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This main session is for those loose nuts out there seeking effectiveness over efficiency while enjoying the journey. Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines and your movement. Get ready for the need for speed. You take it, Paul.
I love it, Jose. Thank you so much for the warm welcome, and welcome everybody. And I echo Jose's mindset, right? Ladies and gentlemen, start those engines and start your movement, right? We are ready to have some fun. And it has been an absolute blast, right, to get ready for you, and really looking forward to the Q&A at the end of this. And I just appreciate you spending the time with me and with our organization. There's many ways that you could have spent your 2 p.m. to 2:45 Eastern time slot. And again, just thank you for wanting to spend it with us. The adventure that I would love to take us on today, I want to kind of give you lay the foundation of the Heritage Group. And as Jose had mentioned, this lone nut mindset in creating a movement. We'll transition then into our road for transformation, right? And that we always want to choose effectiveness over efficiency. Even the tools that we teach each and every single day are how to maximize efficiency. And then lastly, we'll round it out, right, by closing out of how we're going to preserve our future, and more importantly, open it up to Q&A. So with that, let's go ahead and dive right in. So the Heritage Group is headquartered right here in the beautiful city of Indianapolis, Indiana. And for many of you, when I mention Indianapolis or Indiana, you may think basketball. You may think the headquarters of the NCAA. When I mention the NCAA, you may be thinking more basketball coming March Madness here of next year. And it is my hope that we're able to have that. But for some of you, you may think about the Indianapolis 500, or better known as the greatest spectacle in racing. This is when for the last 104 years, 400 to 600,000 individuals descend upon our beautiful city and come watch these wonderful athletes to compete. And one of the things that you're probably not thinking about, though, is our crews, our teams, and our leadership of what it takes to maintain the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We have a history of partnering with the IMS within the past, and just providing those services of what it means to preserve this iconic racetrack in the hottest of days in August, in the coldest of days within January, and the fastest of days on May Day within Memorial Day weekend. Right, and I'm glad that you don't think about our teams when it comes to the IMS, because we always want to make sure that the race stays center stage. As Jose had mentioned, right, just as your organizations have had with a continuous improvement mindset, we love partnering with our customers and understanding of what their important business customer problems are and partnering with them from an innovation perspective. Right, a little bit more about the Heritage Group. Not only do we have this need for speed, we're also, we do it in a family-owned manner. We're a family-owned business, and just this past Tuesday, we celebrated 90 years young. Right, we have transitioned to the fourth generation, and this scale really started with very humble beginnings. Back in the Great Depression, One of the family members asked for a $1,000 loan. Individual believed in him, and with one truck started delivering home heating fuel. That turned into Crystal Flash. That has now grown into global operations in North America, Europe, and Asia, and really 3 industry verticals. Heavy civil construction, where we build federal roads and bridges. Secondly, environmental services. And thirdly, in specialty chemicals and fuel products. I am a benefactor of this legacy of this family, and you can see the individuals here on the bottom as well, and the smiles that they have, that they get to create value each and every single day for a long-term mindset, where we're absolutely in it to win it for our customers. A little bit more about the Heritage Group by the numbers. We're a very entrepreneurial-focused organization. We have 30 different operating companies throughout the Heritage Group that are supported by 5,000 teammates in over 170 different global locations. On top of it, a couple little interesting factoids by the number. Right, in 2019, we helped improve over 3,000 miles of roadways. To help keep that in perspective for you, the United States is about 2,500 miles wide. Next, also too, in this pandemic, one of the items that we have continued just to add back to society is that we produced 3 million gallons of IPA hand sanitizer. So if you think about it, those itty bitty 1 ounce bottles, that's over about 400 million bottles of hand sanitizer that was produced this year. All right, now you have a little foundation about the Heritage Group. What I really want to dive into is this concept of this lone nut in creating a movement. The Heritage Group loves innovation, loves diversity of thought, and loves hearing from different individuals. And we've actually hosted a couple TEDx events at our locations. And I would like to share a TED Talk with you from Derek. And he's going to talk about how to build a movement with this lone nut concept. So Jude, over to you. If you could go ahead and begin the video.
So ladies and gentlemen, at TED we talk a lot about leadership and how to make a movement. So let's watch a movement happen, start to finish, in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons from it. First, of course you know, a leader needs the guts to stand out and be ridiculed. But what he's doing is so easy to follow. So here's his first follower with a crucial role. He's going to show everyone else how to follow. Now notice that the leader embraces him as an equal. So now it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Now there he is calling to his friends. Now if you notice that the first follower is actually an underestimated form of leadership in itself. It takes guts to stand out like that. The first follower is what transforms a lone nut into a leader. And here comes a second follower. Now it's not a lone nut, it's not 2 nuts, 3 is a crowd, and the crowd is news. So a movement must be public. It's important to show not just the leader, but the followers, because you find that new followers emulate the followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, and immediately after, 3 more people. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point. Now we've got a movement. So notice that as more people join in, it's less risky. So those that were sitting on the fence before now have no reason not to. They won't stand out. They won't be ridiculed, but they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. So over the next minute, you'll see all of the those that prefer to stick with the crowd, because eventually they would be ridiculed for not joining in. And that's how you make a movement. But let's recap some lessons from this. So first, if you are the type, like the shirtless dancing guy, that is standing alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals. So it's clearly about the movement, not you. Okay, but we might have missed the real lesson here. The biggest lesson, if you noticed, did you catch it? Is that leadership is over-glorified. That yes, it was the shirtless guy was first, and he'll get all the credit, but it was really the first follower that transformed the lone nut into a leader. So as we're told that we should all be leaders, that would be really ineffective. If you really care about starting a movement, have the courage to follow and show others how to follow. And when you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first one to stand up and join in. And what a perfect place to do that, TED. Thanks.
All right, I love how Derek ends that, right? Have the courage to jump in. Right, I just reflect onto my own career, and I'm so thankful for the mentors, the leaders, the friends that just encouraged me for some crazy idea that I had and this lone nut concept, and they jumped in and chose to join me. And I encourage you, right, to reflect back on your own career and reach back out and say thank you for those first followers with your crazy ideas. And with that, our movement began just as that. Our movement had very humble beginnings. While we're 90 years young, right, we had this attitude of asking ourselves questions. How can we do better? We wanted to change our paradigm from asking questions to, more importantly, of who we want to become. Right, asking 30 entrepreneurial decentralized businesses saying, look, we're going to embrace the Lean Six Sigma toolkit. I was absolutely one of those nuts out there saying, hey, please join me, please join me. It's fun over here, right? And we needed to encourage others, right, to embrace that as well too. And one of the quotes that really came back to us is, I just referenced it a little bit ago, but from Dr. Stephen Covey. Paradigms are powerful because they create the lens for which we see the world. If you want a small change in your life, work on your attitude. But if you want a big and primary changes, work on your paradigm. And this is where we wanted to move from. Our attitude and our heart was absolutely in the right place. We were asking ourselves questions of how can we do better. But our movement, right, had this mindset of where we wanted a paradigm of this is who we wanted to become within the future. So with this is a picture of Carl Fisher's vision. If you've never heard of Carl Fisher is the visionary behind the Indianapolis Motor Speedway back in 1905. And this is his dirt racetrack from the 1930s, right? A 2.5-mile track on dirt, and he had the vision of something grandiose going forward. So to help give you an idea of how big Carl Fisher's vision is, this is what the Indianapolis Motor Speedway looks like today. For those that don't know, right, there's actually several holes of a golf course inside of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Secondly, there's actually a road course now inside the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. If you're starting to grasp how big that it is, let me kind of give you another perspective of all that can fit and all that's going on inside of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You can fit the Vatican City, Yankee Stadium, the White House, Liberty Island, Taj Mahal, Churchill Downs, the Roman Coliseum, and the Rose Bowl. Right? There is just a lot going on inside this grandiose vision. Just like your continuous improvement program has a grandiose vision, and there's a lot going on, right, to transform your business into operational excellence. So our mindset is that, look, we were going to pack the track with effectiveness. We were going to pack the track with the 7 habits of highly effective individuals. As we went on this movement and this lone nut concept, right, we never wanted to trade effectiveness for efficiency when the tools that we teach each and every single day are all about maximizing the efficiencies. Right, and these 7 habits of being proactive, beginning with the end in mind. 3, putting first things first. Rounding out the corner then and going into thinking win-win. Then seeking first to understand, then to be understood. Next, synergizing, scaling that overall organization, but then ensuring that we're always pulling into pit row, right? Ensuring that we're taking the time out to reflect and sharpen our saw. So again, our mindset, taking this lone nut to begin this movement that, look, we wanted to pack the track with the 7 habits of highly effective individuals. And I would like to share with you then a little bit of a deep dive of each one of what did that mean for our transformation and how we apply this still today. So first of all, being proactive. So being proactive, right? In great Lean Six Sigma terms, right? Our operational definition. Right, we wanted to define this as that we are responsible. We are able to choose our own response, right? That we are not a product of our circumstances, but we're a product of the choices that we make and the habits that we want to instill within our organization. We launched our continuous improvement formal program back in 2018, 2019, right? And for our organization, times were very different and times were very good, right? And we chose to be proactive, saying that if or when adversity is going to come to us, right? It's a matter of when that adversity is going to hit our organization. How do we build this muscle proactively, right? To signal to individuals that we're all about growth. Right, we went counterintuitive to the change management principles. Is that first of all, you have to start with your crisis because people are willing, right, to have change. No, we're going to do this proactively with a lone nut mindset to say this is absolutely the right thing to do because we're going to base it on principles and effectiveness. Right, so ensuring that you embrace those first followers was very, very key. But also to a primary challenge that I've encountered over my life, right? I've even had people say, it's like, look, everything going on. I hear that we're having green belt class, in black belt class. I really don't have time for karate. I'm really looking forward to get my body in shape, but I don't have time for karate, right? So with a limited understanding with your organization, right, meeting people exactly where they're at and that, look, this is a leadership development program. When you grow, we all grow. So I mentioned at the very beginning, I'm so thankful for the lone nuts and the first followers that have embraced me throughout my career, that allowed me to create. And while you get to listen to me today, right, I really would wish that you get to see these individuals on the screen. These are the giants, shoulders that I get to stand on each and every single day. They are Can you guys hear me now? Okay, all right. So let me go ahead. Okay, apologize for any technical difficulties that we just had there. Appreciate you adapting and overcoming. Just part of being within the race. All right, so this next item here is beginning with the end in mind. Right, the second bullet point underneath, a key theme for us. A team without a vision for the future will always return to their past. It was our mindset, yes, we wanted to be proactive, but more importantly, we needed to ensure that we could paint a vision for the future. Otherwise, that we would return to our past of just asking questions and having that great attitude. So one of the strategic choices that we chose to do within parallel is that we chose to get our top senior leaders together and then walk them through a design for Six Sigma concept of where they got to use the voice of the customer, right, and to experience these tools of how impactful that they could be. But more importantly, right, that they could point the future of the vision of where they wanted to go and to be focused on solving important in business customer problems. We wanted our leaders to self-discover. One of the great experiences and advice a mentor shared with me is that, Paul, all leaders need to experience. But as leaders rise within the organization, they are probably going to expect you to say, of course, continuous improvement is great. Of course, DMAIC is wonderful. Of course, this is going to make us better. But they are going to need to self-discover, to understand and have this fire in their belly that absolutely this is where they're going to spend their incremental time. It was great advice and something that we're so thankful that we put in. It was a lot of work. And if you think about a primary challenge for us, when you have 30 different operating companies coming together with an entrepreneurial spirit, right, to ensure that you're going to embrace a common language and a common toolkit across all the heritage group, it really takes this we mindset, right? Team before I. But when that is coming together, it's non-obvious of what that future state looks like, but extremely important. So this doesn't become of what you do, but the paradigm of who you become. With that, as you think about lone nuts, I love creating. I love when people are joining in. And we chose, right, just to provide guardrails for our lone nuts, meaning that we wanted to be principal items as they're out there creating their own movement, their own type of dance, right? What are the guardrails of what it is and what it is not, while also providing accountability, right? We had this mindset that we wanted to learn by doing. So as we went through our stage gate process, right, we put a structure in place where it's a safe place to learn. We would consistently communicate asking for help is the sign of strength. And many of us have seen this learning pyramid. So with this today, this is a lecture. So you're probably going to retain at best only maybe about 5% with it. So with this mindset, when you have a discussion or you learn by doing, you will retain 50 to 75% of that. So we gave all of our belts, mentors and mentees as we were going to finish this one project at a time. And they weren't projects. Our North Star or our compass was always pointed on how are we going to solve important business customer problems. We just don't just do projects. We don't have the loudest voice within the room saying this is exactly what I want to go do. We don't go after low-hanging fruit. All important in the grand scheme of things. But our future state is that, look, we are here to solve important in business customer problems because that is going to transform our organization when we put our special sauce behind it, and that's our people. All right, so we knew of who we wanted to become as we designed our future state. Now also too, we needed to put first things first. So I don't know what it looks like within your organization, but for ours, right, there is a lot of things that have to get done each and every single day. And we wanted to be intentional for us is to build this muscle of making trade-offs and prioritization. How do we ensure that we're focusing on the important business and customer problems? And how do we ensure that they're important and not just urgent? And when they are important and urgent, how do we combine those together? So a key item that we chose to do to institute as a non-negotiable to help build this muscle of what's important is that only champions and sponsors are allowed to write the charters, which are important business customer problems. You know, we would get pushback as that, Paul, look, and I am so busy, right? Do you know what's on my plate? I don't have time to write this charter. It's a lot of work. I said, well, great. Obviously, of what that topic is not an important business customer problem. It's a business or customer problem, but what would it rise to your day that you would allocate an hour or 2 hours to be able to write this charter so you will set the team up for success, right? So then as we're solving this, right, it's truly important to you. So that's one of the habits that we have chose to put in with our champions and sponsors, and then we turn our belts loose to go solve the important business customer problem. But as you can imagine, when you're dealing with the senior leadership in your organization, once they have identified something, always keeping that constant communication to ensure that it's solved at a pace that they would like is always a critical item that we're working through. All right, and Franklin Covey speak here, what this really looks like is making sure that we remaining on purpose, right? That you always want to make sure that you're sorting the big rocks and not sorting gravel. So many times, right, organizations will focus on sorting gravel because it's so easy just to put things within pile, and activity does not equal effectiveness. So before we had our future state, we had a purpose statement, right, to help frame of who we wanted to become. So Lean Six Sigma enables a common language to solve important business customer problems for growth. This wasn't cost cutting within disguise. We were going to walk the talk, and that, look, this was going to be about growth and reinvestment back into our people and reinvestment back into our organizations. By combining the power of our relationships, we want to put our relationships first. Businesses are made up of people, and we want to make sure that we put people first and putting the toolkit last, right? So this is the purpose statement that we put out to help put the first things first of what it meant to us. All right, you're rounding out the 3 habits. You're going to have a private victory. You're going to start passing people. You're going to start passing people on the straightaway and on the backstretch. On the backstretch, you're going to start passing your competitors, right? You are that crew chief saying, look, right, I have the encouragement to stand out to you and to publicly say, absolutely, that's the way to follow. But also, too, to say, hey, there's a lot of race to us, right? We needed to make sure that we weren't celebrating too quickly, but absolutely encouraging individuals publicly. All right, we celebrate a little bit. Now we're going into what that win-win mindset looks like. And for us, businesses, right, are made up by people. When people grow, the business grows. It is people that identify important business customer problems. It is people that solve important business customer problems. So when the people are growing, when your solutions are growing, your business is growing. So we wanted to give individual a leadership development program that was all encompassing, and we gave them mentors, a champion, sponsor, and a master black belt along the way. But also, too, we gave them access to expand their horizons, presenting within board meetings, presenting within leadership meetings, and having one-on-ones with the various CEOs and the senior leaders. It was also, too, a win for the senior leaders as they got access to talent that they normally would not be able to get to in an every single day. Right, for them to extend their leadership. So a win-win all around. The other item that we're very intentional with is what is the experience, right? Our leaders are going to accomplish several great things, but at the end of the day, we wanted to focus on the hows, right? It is our view that our leaders and our belts are going to ask us, right, do we care? Can we help them? And will we be trusted to stand with them as lone nuts within our organization and embrace their first followerships? So one of the things that we were very intentional with was how do you create this experience from beginning to end? And here up on the left, right, is a welcome kit. It has a very specific item that is very characterized to each one of our belts. And you can see with my DMake letters up here, probably not normal, probably categorize me as this lone nut, but individuals are putting the DMake letters within their own offices. And also, too, they get a picture with their cohort. They get a personalized high dollar shadow box to say, look, this is the important business customer problem that you solved, and we're finishing strong with you. The other item is that just putting others first. The first item that they get when they finish, they get this memory that, yes, I completed with my belt. They get a personal note from our CEO. They're also encouraged and told, hey, now it's go time to celebrate with others. This is a team sport. They open up this box, and the first item that they see in it is the word thank you. And then on the back of it, though, it is, right, blank. And these individuals then are asked to pay it forward. This is a team sport. Now it's go time, tell your friends thank you. Go tell your first followers thank you for helping you solve your important business customer problem. All right, seeking first to understand versus to be understood, right? There are two paradigms here, right? Seeking first to understand, then to be understood, or seeking first and then to respond. So I'd like to play this video. It's called It's All About the Nail. So Jude, if you could go ahead and play this video.
It's just, there's all this pressure, you know? And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there...
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing...
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
Yeah, see, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
See,
out.
you're not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just... Sometimes it's like there's this achy... I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
Yeah, that sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Oh, come on. If you would just...
Don't...
Try to see things my way. Do I have to keep on?
All right, I hope that made a couple chuckles. But with that, if you think about this nail inside of your forehead, right? We talk about that's the important business customer problem. It is right there, right? It's achy, right? Sometimes some of us bring our work home, we're not sleeping well, right? Our sweaters are getting snagged, our customers are calling us, right? Ouch, what is going on? So we say, hey, if you know the solution, that's a just go do it. Right? You don't need to walk through the through DMAIC or a Lean Six Sigma formal program. We hire great, talented people. Just go solve it. But we talk about listening to the data, seeking to understand, and you have to define, measure, and analyze before you get to improve. We're here to listen to the process. Right? So data always going to win. Another thing that we provided in here is that we provide disc training to our leadership development program as they go through this to help with their overall listening years. But again, seeking first to understand versus seeking first to respond. And we listen to data. All right, synergize. How are you going to scale this organization, right? How are you going to make a common practice best practice? Or more importantly, how do you take a best practice and make that common practice? And high performing teams are definitely characterized as having a high trust, right? So to make sure that we have a common language of what the trust fall looks like, right, I would like to share this video just to make sure that we have a common language of what the trust fall looks like for a high-performing team. So Jude, I want you to go ahead and play this video for me.
Fall, and it'll be an exercise in building trust between one another. So Harrison, if you don't mind going first, step up here on this chair and close your eyes. All right, and then everybody fill in, and we're going to ask you to fall, and then they will catch you. So you have to trust us. So I'm going to count to 3. Just relax and fall. Okay? 1, 2, 3. No, wait! No!
All right. So hopefully a couple more chuckles out there. But once again, right, make sure that you have a common language. There was the item that we were very strategic on. What's the common language and common toolkit? When you have a common language, then you can have speed. When you have clarity, you can have speed, and then you can build a high trust environment, right? Don't assume that a best practice is common practice. And one of the key items that we chose that we wanted to move out of Excel and SharePoint, and we wanted a software program, right, that could help us scale us the ideas of what we could be great at, right? And we chose this wonderful tool referred to as power steering. And a power steering really allows us, right, to be great at identifying, prioritizing, solving, celebrating, and sustaining our gains. I also like it because it's iPad and mobile friendly, and also too is cloud-based and allows me to be able to get real-world data when I need it. And then also too, more importantly, it allows us to have a common language across all 30 of our different operating companies. All right, so we rounded the 6th habit. Now you have a public victory, right? And we're waving the flag, right? We have some victories out there. We are going to celebrate. And as I remind several of you, you are the race officials, right? So to ensuring that the race is fair, it's equitable, but more importantly, that the race is enjoyable, that 400,000 to 600,000 individuals want to show up and say, look, I cannot wait to be an athlete out on this field and to participate with you. On the right-hand side, there's Tony Kanaan. One of the IMS items is that you get to drink a glass of milk within the winner's circle. And I just commend Tony of what he has done here. Is that, look, his entire pit crew, his entire team is behind him. He's pouring this milk over top of him. That, look, we are in this together. We're having a public victory together, right? We lose together, we win together, but we're in this together. All right, rounding out the track here, going into pit row and sharpening that saw. So many times the race is won here, and won and lost is inside of the pit row. And having a strong governance committee is one of the key items here, right? This governance committee helps develop what that common language and common toolkit is, but more importantly, allows you to help raise up out of the organization with all of the weeds and for you to think strategically, working on that future state, right? What is the next 3 to 5 year vision to allow you to have a common practice become best practice, right? And the iron sharpens iron, and having these senior leaders on here, so when the belts are working on their project, they go, look, my senior leader is taking the time out to help shape what this organization looks like. I'm aspiring to be that type of individual. It also too just helps you, right, to be able to sharpen your iron of how you want to lead this organization. All right, all of us have different roles within the organization. I think the pit crew is a great example of that, right? It all comes back to attention to detail. But sharpening the saw and this pit crew allows you to focus on what you want to be great at. And for us, we divided it up in 5 key areas. One, we've been great at identifying important business customer problems, prioritizing, solving, celebrating, and then sustaining those gains, right? And each and every single one of us, so making sure that we're taking the time out to sharpen our saw within the pit and making sure that we're focusing on the right items has been a special sauce to our overall transformation. All right, and so with that right now, so we're just ending this out. This is where we started, right? I was saying, hey, come join us. DMAIC is wonderful. Lean Six Sigma is wonderful. Please join in. And again, I'm so thankful for those 12 individuals that I'm standing on the shoulder of giants. And today, where we're at, our leadership development program is oversubscribed, right? We have more people dancing out with us, right, than we do have people sitting on the grassy knoll. Also, too, we have also too incorporated in our company's mission, vision, and values. Again, getting into this versus this attitude of asking great questions of this paradigm of who we want to become. So I'm going to end where I began and told you this was going to be the most exciting part, is really being a chance to interact with you. And I want to open it up now to Q&A for any questions that you may have about our continuous improvement journey.
Fantastic, Paul. You deliver effectively, despite the fact that you got bounced right in the middle of your session by someone else who logged in right onto your screen. Hey, the marvels of technology. But you know what? This summarizes the hurdles that we have to overcome with purpose, passion, discipline, resilience, right? This is what real change is like. And I love the way that you kept going here and was able to deliver an incredible message to all of us. So thank you for that. And we have questions from the audience. I want to make sure that the audience take a moment, think about what you have just learned here from Paul, and type your questions there and rank the questions that are coming up. I have tons of questions. I can just talk to him for the next 5 hours, but I want to hear your questions because you may have issues that you're dealing with that his message can support your journey. So contextualize to your needs. Ask selfish questions, okay? Ask about what you need. And we're going to have an expert here for the next 9 minutes or so to get us aligned. So looking forward to it. So my first question is coming from the audience. I have lots of questions, but they don't matter. I want to look at the audience questions. Ikai Tolosa from Madrid, Spain. Ikai, how are you? Great to see you. He asks, you talk about the followers and starting a movement and all that early on, which is fantastic. But his question is, do you have advice for the bosses to become followers?
So very wise with that question. Okay, so a very critical component with this as well too. So one of the items that we put in with the followers, right, beginning with the end in mind, helping them orchestrate what that future state is, right, that they had a seat at the table in getting the 30 different operating companies to come together with a common language, right? That was item number one. Item number two is this continuum mindset that champions and sponsors must write their charters, right? For them to become followers and having them to self-discover, because they are expecting me to tell them, of course, we're going to solve this. Of course, things are going to go well. But when they hear it from their own organization, right, and when they see it. So one of the things that we have asked them to do is that if you want an important business customer problem solved, if you're a CEO, you must commit at least to 1 hour meeting with your green belt or black belt once a month, right? And if that's why I don't have that, well, we need to rise it to an occasion where it reaches the definition of you're important, when you're willing to spend an hour out with that individual, right? Again, for them to be able to self-discover. I will tell you, our governance committee only started with 3 individuals, right? We only had 3 lone nuts on our governance committee. Now we have people asking, how do I get on the governance committee? Because they see other senior leaders that have self-discovered, because we have focused on important business customer problems for allow them to do it. So my best advice is what does it look like for your organization to allow your senior leaders to self-discover on their own, and they will become their own lone nuts, and then they will want to spend time with you because it makes their business better. That would be my advice to you.
Terrific. Well, that's fantastic. The discussion about governance is so important. As we both know, one of the most common failure modes on sustainability of this type of programs and organizations. Audience, again, type your questions, okay? I'm watching to what your needs are, and I'm going to ask questions related to them. So go ahead, type your questions so that we can, and rank them so that I can relate them to Paul. So Paul, talking about the 7 habits and keeping effectiveness first, is there a habit that you and your team believe is most critical to get right among the 7 that you discussed?
So, right, they're all important, right? But the most critical, I will go back into the end in mind.
And what about that? I think that Paul Frame has just frozen right now. So I often like to take it lightly and say we start with the end in mind. In the end, we're all going to be dead. But I did not want that to happen. So I'm assuming that that Paul had an issue with his login, and he may need to log out and log back into the session. It may have been something with his connection. He's logging back in and he's back. All right, I got to tell you this, Paul. I got to tell you this. You said you got to start with the end in mind. And those people who follow me, they know that I have a line that I use that and I say, yeah, you have to start with the end in mind, and in the end, we're all going to be dead. So as you said, start with the end in mind, your connection went away. And I know that there are thousands of people in this connection out there thinking, Jose has jinxed the guy by using that saying on him. I'm glad that you went back. I mean, in the end in mind, we're all dead, but between now and then, we're growing. So tell us about the back up on the most effective of the, or most important of the 7 habits, in your opinion, starting with the end in mind.
It was that for us, and really because of what we wanted our future state to be, right? There were so many.
That's not Paul. That is not Paul there for a moment.
Yeah.
Someone is trying to get in your role. Paul.
Correct.
Do not let
yes, correct. Yep. No worries. No worries. So if someone keeps logging in with my ID, which I don't know how it's happening, but hey, we adapt and overcome. We are flexible. So that is not a problem.
That's right. Though, go ahead, Paul. I don't know how much time I have with you here before
Yep.
Arielle decides to get in and bump you out again. So I'm gonna. Why is that start of the end in mind so important?
It allowed us to say this is who we want to become and what our future state is going to be looking like, right? We were able to articulate to our individuals of how they ought to behave versus reverting back to where we were. Otherwise, it was just with things that we would have done, right? And it just would have been the gold shiny penny that something else would have happened, right? For us, we wanted to change this paradigm of who we wanted to become, right? And that was the critical item, saying this is what the future state looks like, and this is how we're going to behave. Without that, right, we would have been unable to paint that picture.
That's excellent insight. And as you're trying to apply these habits in practice, is there any that stand out to you as particularly hard to make it, to implement in the organization?
Yeah, for me, right, and being in a entrepreneur organization has 30 different operating companies, right, that have their own heart and mind and soul and culture. Getting 30 operating companies to synergize. So habit number 6, right, to synergize, to have a common language and a common toolkit to make a best practice, a common practice across 30 operating companies when it's non-obvious. But be able to work through that has made us extremely stronger, right? But that has been
I can hear you. Go ahead.
okay. Yep. So for us to develop that common language and that common toolkit, right, for that to happen, right, that has been the hardest for us. Is really to developing what synergy is, where 1 + 1 + 1 is greater than 3. Not just 3, right, but it actually has to be greater than that. And across 30 different operating companies, it's not obvious, and it just takes a lot of hard work.
For sure. So tell us a little bit, one of the comments that were made here is a little bit of background on the journey at the Heritage Group of that you're on, that you described to us. When did this start? How long have you been on this journey in a very intentional way, like the way you described?
Yeah, so our journey started back, and I commend our CEO just putting a stake in the ground as the 4th generation took over back in 2018. Right, and we just refer to it as business excellence as an overall whole. So we have been on this since 2018, right when things were going exceptionally well within the world, right? And again, being proactive to during a position of strength to getting ready when that adversity was going to come. So here we're at the end of 2020, and as we go into 2021, we already have our entire year planned. We have still rolled out items, just as I commend this industry, right, adapting and overcoming and doing BTOES over the internet and at home. Kudos to everyone showing up. Jose and team, thank you so much. We've had that same mindset, and we already have 2021 planned out proactively of how we're going to invest inside of our organization. And thankfully, all of that is already oversubscribed.
That's fantastic. Well, what an incredible program and traction that you have gotten with your program so far. Now, can you expand a little bit on the key strategies that you use to help keep first things first, and among all the other competing priorities, how do you identify the first things first areas, if you will, and what is the strategy behind that?
Yeah. So we started out with this champions and sponsors, right? Need to write charters. One of the great things I love about power steering has really allowed us to be able to do this, right? So power steering allows us, we want to be great at 5 items: identifying important business customer problems, prioritizing those important business customer problems, solving, celebrating, and sustaining our gains. So one, we're able to collect all of our ideas. So power steering is our common language and common toolkit across all 30 operating companies. So as we get to listen to our teams of what's important to them, it then allows us, right, to prioritize together. So we have idea triage committees is really kind of what we're talking about them, right? So the ideas are coming in, and then the business is saying, I have an idea triage committee. And we have then a way of how we ask them to prioritize against strategic goals, because we are focused on solving important business customer problems. What's the strategy of the organization? And we have developed a system with inside power steering that allows us to prioritize that and tell us what's important now. And also from a resource load perspective, this is your idea pipeline. these are my resources. Do I want to go out and hire individuals to go after this potential? But we have an idea triage committee that's actually allowing us to do that. And then before we solve, then champions and sponsors must write the important business customer problem charter saying, okay, idea comes in, I assess it, we have a way to prioritize it within the software tool that communicates it across everyone, and then the charter, and then we turn everyone off loose then to go solve that. So that's one of the ways that we have allowed us to really take our game to the next level across our entire organization.
Paul, this is fantastic. Listen, thank you for taking the time to share these insights from Indianapolis to the world. We have over 2,000 registered participants from all over the world who are part of this ecosystem, and they're going to be watching you live. They're going to be watching the recording. They're going to see that, you know, you're doing a great presentation and you got interrupted and you had to keep going, which I think is a wonderful analogy to what's actually happens in organizations. Certainly an analogy to what 2020 has been like, right? We all had plans, but life happened. And the ability to intentionally create the future, which you are doing and leading, but also the ability to pivot when necessary, to overcome the hurdles when they show up, but never losing track of your directional guidance and purpose, because you have the purpose, you have the passion, you have the discipline, and you have to the resilience to endure that journey. So you exemplify all of that through your presentation and for all the mishaps that you have overcome today in delivering a wonderful message. So thank you for that. We're grateful to have a leader of your magnitude and expertise sharing this with all of us.
Thank you, Jose. It's a beautiful thing. And again, I can't say thank you enough for our team, right? This is a team sport, just like Tony Kanaan pouring milk all over himself. Again, the reason why I'm here because of those first followers and the teams behind us. So if you ever make it to Indianapolis, stop by the Heritage Group. We'd love to introduce you to our team.
That's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Simons from the Heritage Group. Well done, Paul. Great presentation on the path forward for continuous improvement and speed, not just with efficiency, but making sure that you're effective in everything that you do. So terrific message. Our next keynote speaker that I'd like to set up will be the last main event here at the main stage. We're going to have a tremendous leader of large-scale business transformation. You do not want to miss that. We're going to have Nicola Hodgson from Microsoft talking to us about how you transform an organization with 100,000 people. And not just any organization, but Microsoft. And it's an organization that has been on the leading edge of so much in our society for decades, and found itself in a position with an opportunity to achieve greater levels of excellence and greater levels of innovation. And Nicola Hodgson is going to share with us what that journey has been like. So you do not want to miss that. I'll see you back here on the main stage at 3:15 p.m. Eastern Time. So check back soon. Bye-bye.